I do want to introduce Henry LeBrie again. But if you have any questions when we finish, let Henry go through his list as fast as you can, because it'll take him a while and he'll discuss it. And at the end of his list, make your notes as he's going through it. And then we'll come back to those categories and you can ask him questions about it. And then we'll jump in on this. This is my law partner and brother, Matt Lundy, and he'll talk to you about business interruption. Bub Tennyson is with our firm, BJ Lundy is with our firm standing over there. And that's Nicole Morgan, who works with our law firm. Gary Littleton is offering his services to people. He goes and photographs and takes a little team and documents damage early on, because some people don't get to have their adjusters out there for months. Some haven't. I mean, I haven't had my adjuster at my house yet. Some of you may not have had adjusters yet. But one of the things that we're going to suggest to y'all is you let your adjuster come look at your house. Listen to what he says. Document when he gets there. Document when you called him. You know, document what he says. Walk around, let him look at the damage. Get the estimate, and continue to get the estimate when they send you a check. Don't sign a release. Don't endorse it. Continue to get the money. If you feel like at the end of the day they're not paying you for what you should, that's when you come see us. We want you to get everything you can get, hopefully without not having an attorney. So what we're doing today is just giving you the do's and don'ts with your adjusters and how to look at a claim and what the policies say, because the policies can be inconsistent, and that's why we got Henry LeBrie. Mr. LeBrie owns AAA Floodmasters. I met him 15 years ago after Rita, after Ike. He's done this kind of work his whole career for 25 or 30 years, because he only represents owners. He doesn't work for carriers, underwriters. So he's going to tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do and what you should say and not say around your adjuster. So we thank Henry for being here. Henry, if you want to come talk to him.
Good evening. I hope today that we're here to give you as much knowledge as we possibly can. This is the most controversial industry there is. You can say the right thing the wrong way and then deny your coverage. I'll give you an example. If people say you got mold, you don't have mold coverage. Correct. But you do have if it's a result of a covered loss. Okay? Your limit's policy limit, not 5,000 or 10,000. So that's just an example. We travel United States. All over the United States we work disasters. Ain't nothing I hadn't heard, seen, or watched. Okay? We're going to talk about your policy deck page. We'll start with that. Like they said earlier, hold all your questions to the end. Because every question is important, because you need an answer, and we realize that. We're going to talk about your deck page. On the front of your deck page, it says structure. That tells you how much limit you have on your structure. And then it says content. That gives you how much limit you have on your content coverage. If you turn your house upside down, everything falls as content. Make the list. Then you have what they call ALE, or loss of use, additional living expenses. There's usually a percentage of your policy limit, or there's a number. That's how much money you have to live somewhere else, rent something, until your house is put back in pre-loss condition. One of the main questions you need to ask adjuster when they show up, does my policy owe to put me back in pre-loss condition? If he says, I don't know, he's a rookie. In the contract, it says they owe to put you back in pre-loss condition. That's all you're here for. We're not trying to get anything that don't belong to nobody or anything else, but they do owe to put it back in pre-loss. Also on your deck page, it says other structure. That means if you have an outbuilding or a detached garage, things like that, that is what is classified as other structure. Usually there's a limit, or usually there's a percentage. Either way, every policy, every company writes them different. Okay, we're going to talk about the structure of your home. Let's talk about the windows. We write all windows to be replaced. Here's the reason why we do it. Does every adjuster agree with it? No. The 130 mile an hour wind pushing against that window has compromised the gas and the seal inside that energy window, and that window in about 2 to 3 months will start fogging up. It compromised the caulking that seals around the window to minimize leaking. We don't talk about damage or total loss. We talk about damaged windows, because what happens is once that gasket is compromised, every one of them is going to start leaking in months down the road. Now, some adjusters, we can talk about that in just a second. Let's go do it now, in fact. The adjusters right now that are going out are probably year to 2, 3 years experience. So my question to them is, what are you certified in? Construction, roof? He's going to say adjusting. That's what that tells me. He's not an expert in construction. He's not an expert in roof. He's not an expert. All he's there is eyes and ears, take pictures, take notes, and send it to the in-house adjuster that actually makes all the decision. I'll give you an example. After Hurricane Rita, we took a big hit at my house. We took, I don't know, it was almost $400,000 in damage. A couple of tornadoes. I pulled up, beautiful site. 3-story convertible. Beautiful. My wife thinks I'm nuts. That's okay. But the adjuster walks in and says, asking me what a dehumidifier is. Okay, I opened the door and I said, out. I called my agent. Your agents are there to use them. Work them. Work your agents. They sent me a large loss adjuster. He walked in, no problem, no problem, no problem. 3 or 4 small issues he had with my methodology, how we wanted to do it. That was all. That is your difference between a rookie and a large loss. If you have major damage on your home, ask for a large loss. Are you going to get it? Probably not, but you got it on record that you asked for a large loss, because the guy comes out, they all have limits. If the guy comes out, it's like the one to me, his limit was $25,000. Well, it's a joke. You know, we sitting there $400,000, they send a guy out here that can only prove 25. Then they said, well, I'll send it off to the next adjuster, he's good for 200. Well, we're wasting time. Delay techniques is not your issue. Lack of adjusters to service their claims is not your issues. Does that make sense? All right, let's talk about mileage. Well, let's go back to roof. There's 3 areas of roof that you have problems. If you got missing shingles, that wind has lifted those shingles and broke the seal underneath them. So if you look at your roof, you'll see shingles blown up. They're compromised. They're damaged. Policy says it don't have to be destroyed if it's damaged. If your shingle lifted up and there's debris underneath them, it has to have a new roof, because that roof will never reseal. The other claim that you can run at them is that shingle has a 90 mile an hour warranty. We had a 130 mile an hour wind, you voided our warranty. The adjuster's going to tell you, we don't insure warranties. He's right. Don't get mad. But they do insure to put you back in pre-loss condition with a warranty. So don't talk about warranty, talk about pre-loss. That make sense? All right. On your roof, we talk about warranty, we talk about pre-loss. On your mileage, anything you do to deal with this claim, every day write a mileage, 65 cents a mile, and you'd be surprised how much money that adds up to in months. Keep a daily log where you went, check on furniture, check on this, check on that, trying to find a place to live, renting furniture. If you find a rent house somewhere other than around here, and it's $4,000 a month, rent it. Go back to your ALE, this is how much money you got to spend. So if it's $4,000 not furnished, they'll pay you furniture to get it moved in, to put you back in like kind quality where you live. That makes sense? All right. Keep up with your mileage all the time. If you got $100,000 in ALE, you can spend up to 100. Anything over that, it's out of your pocket. That makes sense. Then we're going to talk about all your furniture in your house. The insurance pays to pack you out. Hire somebody, come in, load up all your furniture, and put it in storage. If there's no storages available in Louisiana, send them to Mississippi, send it to Alabama, send it to Texas. They pay for that. Now, when you totally finish and ready to move back in, they owe to pack in. And that don't include you out here, hands and knees, sweating like crazy, packing all this furniture up to save your insurance company money. It pays to put you back pre-loss. Now, you can stand there and supervise the packers, the movers. They'll put it in a climate-controlled storage, and then they owe to bring it all back and put it back in your house. If you have people, family and everything else that's come over and help you do all this, generate a timesheet. Get a yellow pad, legal pad, illegal pad, paper, it don't matter. Cardboard, and everybody signs their names and the hours they work. A lot of adjusters, they will accommodate that and allow that to apply to part of your deductible. Okay? Most of your deductible here is 1%. Because it's a named storm, it's 1% to 5%. If your house is insured for $400,000, you got 5%, you're out of pocket 20 grand. That makes sense. If it's 1%, then do the simple math. If you have to rent an apartment somewhere and you have a pet, and they say, we'll rent it to you, but it's a non-refundable deposit. Your insurance will pay that non-refundable deposit because you don't get it back. If it's a refundable deposit, you pay it, then when you leave, you get your deposit back. But if it's non-refundable, they'll pay that deposit. All right, we're going to talk about off-site power loss. When an area like this has had a major storm, you lost your whole grid in Lake Charles. So what happens is off-site power losses causes on-site damages, and then everything you got electronic that was plugged in, claim it on your content. Every appliance that they have in your house is plugged in. When the surge went through the whole grid, when it went down, it sent all those surge into every appliance you have in your house. And let me give you an example. And don't take my word for it. Watch for the fire trucks. 60 days from now, you'll see fire trucks everywhere because it damages your appliances. Instead of them overheat and tripping breakers, they catch on fire. Claim them. Claim every one of them. I don't care if he agrees with you, because ultimately that adjuster that comes out don't make the final decision. Okay? Now, another side of that, everything you claim, say you had $50,000 in content. Humans, you know how they are. When you write $50,000 in coverage in list of itemized, you stop because that's all the coverage you got. Keep writing, because if you got $50,000, anything over 5 years is depreciated. 5 years or less, zero depreciation. Simple math. But here's another kicker to it. If you have $100,000 in content losses and you only have $50,000 in coverage, the other $50,000 you write off your income tax as casualty loss. Okay? All your clothes, everything that's in your closet on hangers, always take them to the cleaners, let them clean it, pay the bill, they'll reimburse you for that. Excessive amount of moisture over extended period of time damages everything. Everything in your house, pillows, sheets, mattresses, everything, claim it. It don't say it has to be the start. If it's damaged, the damage is due to excessive amount of moisture over extended period of time and there's no power. Y'all still, y'all was under mandatory evacuation. That activates some smaller areas in your policy. I haven't seen some of the Louisiana policies, so I can't really speak on that. The powers to be can. We talked about the size of adjuster. If you got damages, ask for a large loss. Let's talk about debris. If you tell the adjuster, said, yeah, we had trees and metal and limbs and shingles, he's going to say, you don't have tree coverage. But in your policy it says debris. Don't define it. If you have tree on your house, they'll take that tree off. If you have trees on your driveway getting entrance and out to your house, they'll pay to clear all that up. If it's laying in your yard, you don't have coverage. If it's touching your house, you do. But debris, do not define debris. In your policy, it says debris. They don't define it, why should you? If you get a check from the mortgage company, sign the back of it, accept it under protest. Make a copy of the front and the back, or take a picture, put it in the bank. People says, well, who do we get on tarping? Let's back up to the check. If you have a mortgage, the checks come in joint. It'll be made out to you and the mortgage company. You have to send your check, sign it, send it to the mortgage company. They'll release your money in thirds most of the time. Some of them 50%, but they're rare. So if they release it in thirds, that means you got to get work done, submit for a draw, get a third, pay your contractor, and wait and get back in line again with the same contractor to finish the work. I don't agree with that, but I don't write the rules. It's my house. I'm responsible for the debt. I ought to be able to have all my money up front. It don't happen because the mortgage companies has that right. But make sure on your roofing and stuff, if there's debris and stuff under, you can ask a roofer. He'll pull it up. He pull it up, sees debris, take pictures, you're good. The only way you lose people is when you quit. Statutes vary in state to state. If you have a year, you keep submitting something. Every time you find something different or it hasn't been submitted, submit it. If they tell you they close your claim, call your agent, say, I have a supplement, reopen it. It's okay. That's their technique, trying to make you go away. If they say they close it, the next day, document everything. It's like Lundy said, document everything they say when they say it. Reopen it. Next day, they send you a check and close it again, reopen it again. Don't quit. That's where you get in trouble. All right, we're going to talk about tarping. People said, I got my roof tarp. Okay? Tarps are good, but tarps are bad. Because when they tarp that roof, that house attic cannot breathe. So what happens is everything inside your attic sweats. Do I agree with tarping? Yeah. Do I disagree? Yeah. Because when that attic sweats, all your insulation, everything in that attic generates moisture, and it'll sour and smell for years down the road. If they tarp a roof, I always tell them pull all the insulation out of it. A lot of times FEMA send in people, all they do is tarp. A lot of times it's more harm than good. If you have your home or business tarped, say 2 weeks from now there's another major thunderstorm come through, tear all your tarps off, re-wets everything that's already been done. File another claim. Yes, you got 2 deductibles, but you also have 2 policy limits to fix one house. The way it works is people get confused. I'm going to try to clear it up quick. You don't pay your second deductible until you exhaust the first. You have to define the differences between the damages this day. But most of the insurance companies, they'll run that first one out before they get into the second one. And the adjuster's going to tell you, you don't want to file another claim because then you got another deductible. Well, they'll say, yeah, but I also got another policy limit. And then they'll just put their head down and they know they've been outsmarted, okay?
Please say that again. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
If you have, say your home is tarped, and you end up with a storm comes through, rips all your tarp off, re-wets everything, collapse more ceilings and damages, you file another claim with your agent. Okay? How many adjusters have y'all seen show up with a policy, your policy in their hand? None. The company does not want them to define your policy. They want to define it in-house so they can play the word game. All right? If you're underinsured, what you have to do in your policy, it says a co-insurance. Everybody thinks that's additional insurance. It's a penalty. If your home is insured for $500,000 and it's really worth $1.5 million, adjuster comes out, hey, you're underinsured. They'll take 20% of your $500, deduct it, and send you the check for the rest. That's $100,000 you lost. Keep your homes insured for the value. A lot of times your agent should come out, hey, your home is coming up for renewal. The going rate now is, say, $150 a square foot. You're at $100 or $95. Do you want to up your insurance? It's your choice, but they need to ask. That's their job. Some people want to bring out, the insurance company on the large loss, they want to bring out a structural engineer. That engineer works for them. If you bring one, that engineer works for you. They're most of the time are not going to agree. Now, there are people that disagree with their engineers. You need to disagree with every one of them. That don't mean they're right. I don't mean you're right. Never accept, never sign a waiver, never accept what they offer. I always tell people, I don't care what they offer and pay, I will never be in agreement with it. That's okay, but you can agree to disagree, but move forward. Let's get money in your hand, get money in your bank, and get your house going back. Ask for a draw. When the adjuster shows up, say you estimate you have $100,000 damage, ask for a $50,000 draw up front to give you money. You're only going to get about half what you asked for. So if you really want 50, you're going to get 20. If you ask for 50, you get 25. If you ask for 100, you're probably going to get 50. Or he say, that's over my limit. That tells you what kind of adjuster he is. Okay? He's weak. Or he hasn't been there long enough. If he's not authorized to issue $50,000 on the roof that's gone on the house, that's pretty weak. The issue you're having now is there's still no power in a lot of places. So when these companies come in and they dry out your building or your house, they remediate everything, tear it all out, dry everything out, then they take all the equipment and generator and go somewhere else and make money. Then your house starts sweating. You're in the same predicament. Every job we work on, when we get through remediating and drying, there's a certain amount of equipment that's left and with a generator to run them to maintain humidity levels in that resident until full power is totally restored. As they bring in this grid up, people say, I got power on my place, come get your generator. Wait 3 days. Because when that generator leaves your house, it's already committed. If the power goes back down, what are you going to do? It takes 2 to 3 days for them up and down with the grid to be consistent with power. Okay, we want to talk about your content list. Make your list, we did earlier. Anything over $10,000 you should have scheduled on your policy. Antique, things like that, you should have them scheduled. Never say it's priceless. It has no value. Watch what you say. We tell people all the time. Now you can take all this antique furniture and you can have it restored. And they may cost $6,000, $7,000 to restore it, but they're not replacing it. Most of your adjusters right now are very young and not educated. So if you're very knowledgeable about construction, it gets very aggravated, frustration, and you want to hammer them. They're doing the best they can because they don't have any knowledge. One thing you got to remember, their DNA does not match yours. So they're never going to think like you, and you're never going to think like them. You don't want to whiz off a man that's trying to get you a check. It's okay to disagree, but tell him up front, let's agree that we're going to disagree and move forward. That way you can get more money in your hand as soon as possible to start your process. Your contractors around here, they're going to be strung out. They'll go here, they'll go there, they'll go here. Wherever the money is, that's where they can get money for work they've done. They're going to move to them, and you're going to wait. So that's why we need to make sure that you get as much money as you can up front. I've got about 2 more pages, but I'd rather just open for questions. I think that's more important right now. All right, any questions? Go ahead.
Answer your question. One of them is the policy may say there's no matching. So you got a leak in your kitchen and the water came through and it's a 2x2 spot and the rest of the kitchen is fine, the ceiling, same color, everything. And they say, well, under the policy, it says we don't have to match the rest of the room to clean in this spot, because when they pull the sheetrock down and they refloat it and they repaint it, it's going to be different than the rest of the room. Well, he mentioned to you pre-loss. They have to put you back to pre-loss, so that means they got to paint the whole room. So don't fall for the no matching clause in the provision, in the policy. The other thing is you may have a policy that says we'll pay the ACV and versus the replacement cost. So you know what ACV is. If your house is totally destroyed and you decide that you're not going to rebuild it and replace it, they're going to just pay you the actual cash value. That's what the ACV, that's the depreciated value of the house as is. And so that's what they're obligated to pay you. But if you decide to rebuild it and replace it, they owe you the replacement cost. So look at that language if you have an ACV clause versus a replacement cost. But as he says, you got to be restored to pre-loss condition. The other thing is sometimes your policy will have code changes in it. So if you have an old house you've been living in for years, but somehow the ordinances have changed, the laws changed, you got handicap rules now. So if you rebuild it, you got to rebuild it, and it exceeds the policy limits. Look in your policy. There's probably a provision that says we will pay for code changes. So if the code changes cost you $25,000 to $50,000 more than what the policy limits are, that provision may provide for you to get full coverage for the replacement, including the code changes. The deductible, look at it. We got snookered by our insurance carriers on deductible. So some of you got 2%, some of you got 5% for named storms, some of you got a flat $12,000 or $15,000 on a $150,000 or $200,000 policy, which is high. In the future, I would buy up my deductible, buy it down, pay more for it because of storms like this. Those were the few things that I thought I would add. Go ahead and answer the question.
Let's I'm going to bring up metal roofs. What happens is, if you have a metal roof, unless it has been punctured by debris, define it, debris. If it hasn't, what happens is the metal roof is doing exactly what it's engineered to do, shed water. The fasteners have been compromised. So it's like this roof here. There's a self-tapping screw, has a rubber gasket that seals the hole it generates. So the lift from the metal up against that rubber gasket compromises the fastener, and then everything leaks. Months down the road, you have a leak here, have a leak there. So you don't talk about changing the roof. You talk about repairing the roof, which means you pull the seams, change the seal tape, and oversize screw the whole roof, which costs more than replacing it. But they can sell a repair versus a new roof. Does that make sense? Don't get caught in that trap. The metal is good. The fasteners have been compromised. A lot of times they want to patch a roof. No, they don't patch a roof. Every roof in here has been compromised, damaged, warranty issues. One way or the other, they need to change the whole roof. All right. Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier about items that are older and they would depreciate. If your policy has replacement plus, does that come to?
What happens is on the depreciation, say you have an item that's more than, say, it's 10 years old. Say it's a $5,000 Posturepedic mattress and box spring. If it's more than 5 years old, up to 5 years, there's no depreciation. Zero. Over, say it's 10 years old, they'll depreciate at 25% and pay you. But when you replace that, you send in the receipt, they'll pay you that 25% back. Look on your deal, on your estimate from the insurance, it says recoverable depreciation. Millions of dollars they keep every year because people don't know what that means. If your house is $200,000 damaged, they'll depreciate it. If it's a 20-year-old house, they may depreciate it $25,000. When you look at that page, it says recoverable depreciation, $25,000. They put it in parentheses. Amazing. But when you finish restoring your home, you send a letter in, have it notarized, all works completed, they send you that $25,000 back because their paper says recoverable. Some of them say if you have, like you was talking earlier, ACV policy, actual cash value. If it says ACV, that is not recoverable, it says non-recoverable. You don't get that back. So upgrade your policies from now on. Invest in insurance. That's the best. Where are you going to invest $2,000 with a potential a year to $200,000 in return? It don't happen, people. People say, I don't like insurance. We have 60-something pieces of property. I don't like it either. But trust me, I'm insured poor. All right? Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of times the insurance policies say you have $500 worth of debris removal. And I mean, like for me, we have 9 acres and about 30 trees down. It's not been covered. Isn't that how? Is there a way to let?
She has $500 on debris removal on the policy. They got 9 acres and trees down everywhere. That's all you got. Unless they block in your entrance and exit to your residence. All those are covered, and any trees on your house is covered. I'm sorry about that, but if it says 500, that's all you get.
Policy, by the way.
Ma'am?
I said I have a very good insurance policy. I mean, it's good, but that's all they do.
Is it 500 per tree?
Some of them have limits, but you have to read that. There's a paragraph that says so much per tree. Count your trees.
They did tell me.
You're what?
October.
What do you say? Well, I'm not saying it's a total loss because your structure itself may be good. The skin is compromised and it needs to be changed. I would address your metal building as the fasteners being compromised. And if you did all of that, oversized screws, it's a ton of labor. 2 stories or greater, whatever, anything over 12 foot, 2 stories or greater, go with that and you should have enough money to just change the metal. It don't have to be destroyed, damaged. Go through there if you got a dent, scratch. In the insurance, a lot of these adjusters now, they say, well, how do I know that wasn't like that prior to the storm? You got a good adjuster there. Ask him where is his pre-loss inspection prior to taking your premiums in good faith. We don't do pre-loss inspection. Well, you insured as is, where is, write it up. Keep it simple. Yes, ma'am. What happens on that, where the hole in the roof, that's no issues. Wind-driven rain, you got 130-mile-an-hour wind going this way. Everything in your attic, get all the insulation out of it and you'll find all your water damage. Because it's set on top of your insulation. We had a church in DeRidder, we pulling the ceilings out of a recreation area and water's pouring out of it 2 weeks later. So you trap water in there. Now adjusters, they don't like to go in the attic because they're not an engineer. But you can open the gate and show them, look, I got damages here. Okay? It's better if you can minimize a lot of your stuff by showing them water spots, and then if you can, what we do is if it's damaged, we tear it out. I don't care if adjuster's there or not. Anything we do prior to an adjuster showing up is non-disputable, including price. Anything that we do, and it's controversial, remember I told y'all that, don't hang me. If it's visible water damage anywhere, we take a picture, we tear everything out. You may be weeks getting an adjuster. Tear it all out, dry it, clean it, and hand him an invoice. Then it's not an estimate. This is what it cost me. They got to indemnify. That's not right. No, that's your residence. You own it. You own the policy. That you have the right to tell them what you want, show them what you want. But remember, if you show him if you don't walk with him, if he sees water damage, he's probably going to write it whether it's prior or not. A lot of these guys are in-house adjusters. They own salary. They're working 100, 110 hours a week. Okay. And then you have contract. They get paid a percentage. But they want to go out there, and I've had them show up on jobs we wasn't even there, and the homeowner run them off, call the police. They're supposed to schedule with your contract. But if they write and everything, as soon as they send it in, they get their percentage of that estimate. And then they're going to say, oh, you need to supplement everything else. So that way they can get paid. She said she had a contract adjuster show up in her house, and they done a walkthrough. He didn't want her walking through with him. He wanted to walk by himself. And she started asking him some questions. He said, no, no, no. They're all going to say no because they don't know. They don't know what your policy says. I've never seen an adjuster walk up to any job, large law, 10, 15, $20 million jobs. None of them have a policy. They don't know what it says. She said she lives in DeRidder, tree fall on her house. She's trying to find a contractor, Surf Pro. They're overbooked. They can't get nobody out to her house. Am I understanding? You're right. Okay. Here's what you do. Keep looking. Don't quit. Drive around, find somebody, big company, little company. Get your remediation started. It goes back to, sir? Document everything. There's not a problem if you hire a contractor, general, or whatever, come in here and just tear everything out wet. Take pictures, then when the adjuster show him the pictures. That's your documentation to minimize and mitigate their damages. Anything done prior to an adjuster showing up, non-disputable. If you got water damage in your house, the whole house, if you got water damage in your whole house, gut it. Yeah. Well, there's not enough contractors around. There's definitely not enough educated contractors around. A lot of companies work for the insurance company. They dictate what they can and can't do. And that's all they do. That's where we're different. We work for the people. Okay? His question is, where do you live, sir? Grand Chenier. Congratulations. All right, here's what happened. He says his house is totally destroyed. He had an adjuster come out. They sent a flood adjuster out. And the structural engineer has nothing to do with flood. It's the game. Listen to what they're saying. It was destroyed by surge. Do you have flood insurance? I have both. You have both? Okay. What happens is they try to pass the buck to flood because it's FEMA. All right, and then the insurance, sir?
And it's limited.
It's limited. You have probably got 250?
No.
Well, how much flood do you have? 130,000? Plus content. No content. So you got $130,000 to work with. Now, you're going to have to go right on up the ladder to work them both, to make them both pay. Here's the key. Hurricane Ike hit Galveston, Crystal Beach. I had a big beach house there. A friend of mine wrote it out like a fool. I'm sorry. All I know is English. If I hadn't offended you yet, hang around. I'll get to you. So, but here's what he done. He wrote it out, and I said, video everything. I paid him $5,000 for that video. He said, you're crazy. Thank you. In my world, that's a compliment. So what happens is, I took his video and watched it. And flood was blaming wind, wind blaming flood. But when you sat there and watching these roofs comes off these cabins, that video showed roofs coming off cabins in his neighborhood, but you also look at the road, you could still see the yellow stripes. That's not surge. There wasn't even no water on the ground. So the wind got it prior to the surge. Where you're at, you got wind prior to surge. Okay?
And rain.
And rain.
And rain.
So you
You can get a weather data expert to support that the wind got there and was knocking the roof off in the rain long before the surge came. So that's what's going to happen. How much is your homeowner, your wind coverage, your dwelling coverage? How much?
Congra- 450, 450,000.
See, yeah.
Okay.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah. Here's your saving grace. Agree with all of them because they're all right in their field, but they're not right as a policyholder. From the water line down is flood, water line up is wind. You got two policies. Congratulations.
Yesterday, the Small Business Administration was passing out this fact sheet. Y'all need to get a copy of it. They're talking about Hurricane Laura loans, home loans at 1.8%, and business loans at 3%, and nonprofit organizations at 2.75%. Pick up one of these and read it before you leave. The other thing I want to mention, Henry talked a little bit about the statute of limitations. We always proceed with caution and conservatism on the statute. So consider the statute to be 1 year. So get all your money that you can get. If you're satisfied, be happy. If you're not happy, see your lawyer before a year is up if you need to make a proof of claim. Do not wait.
Due to the compromising of the wind pressure against the window.
It's all in the wording,
It's all in the wording.
but you're talking about paintings, not the window frame.
The window frame where it's caulked around your deal, all that has to be cleaned and recaulked. The window itself, on your windows, energy efficient, they have that metal aluminum gasket between them. The compromising is that wind pressure, 130, gust 140, 150, pushing against that, it compromises the space and it breaches the seal. So, then 2-3 months down the road, your windows start fogging up.
So you change the paint.
Change the whole window.
Yeah, because
They got replacement windows. They can come in from the outside of your home, cut them out, put replacements in there. Totally redone. Yes, ma'am.
Safety tip. Some of you may know, I did not know until the other night. How many of you have some sort of generator working? We all know that they can be dangerous. We've already seen in the paper, unfortunately, people have died from carbon monoxide. Well, the other night my neighbor woke up with his alarm screaming. The fire department showed up, told him they were this close to dying. What happened was, they didn't know what happened at first. His generator, he has a generator, is in a confined space, and his air conditioning units are in there. So they thought, oh my gosh, the air conditioner is somehow sucking it up and sending it in the house. That's not what happened. If your generator is next to your house, you got to be careful, because in this case, the exhaust was coming out and the air conditioning units weren't sucking it in, they were blowing it into the eaves of the house. So it got into the attic. Once the attic filled up, it started going into the house. So it's just a little public service announcement that we wanted to make to you to be careful. Make sure there's a lot of airflow where your generator is located so that none of that carbon monoxide gets into your home.
Vicki, you had a question?
Well, I was finished asking, so I need to ask him to change all my windows in my roof.
Yeah.
Unless it's in the zone.
Well, they're going to agree with you? Probably not, but demand it. Don't stop asking.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, back to the other structure. So when I talked to the lady on the phone, my adjuster has a business. I have an outdoor kitchen and it has one wall, but she says it's not going to be covered because it's not enclosed. It's not another structure.
That's other structure.
Okay, so it doesn't have to have four walls. It's a roof and one wall.
You got to remember, they're sitting in the office window.
Okay, another thing was back to the property. Like from the last time we had this, a lot of people were talking about when the adjuster comes, they want you to remove the car.
Her question was, when the adjuster comes, they won't ask you to remove the tarp so they see the roof. Tell them to remove it.
So you don't have to do that, that's on
It's
them.
not safe for you to get on the roof. Don't get on the roof. That's their job. If they want it removed, they can hire a contractor, remove it, take their pictures, and then they can pay them to
Water
put it back.
damage inside, so I mean, it really shouldn't be excluded, right?
Depends on your adjuster. The DNAs are different.
And what about couple things?
Yes.
We've been having a conversation with insurance people about what's habitable, what's inhabitable. They, they say, just because you don't have electricity, you don't have water, it's still habitable. So they don't want to pay for your loss of use.
Okay. They are right, but they're wrong.
Yeah, I challenge them.
Good luck. Let me know if that happens, because that'd be the first. And I'll tell you something about what he's saying in his question. Without water, electricity, is this house inhabitable? Some companies saying, yes, it is, because if without a kitchen, here's the rule, without a kitchen or restroom, the house is inhabitable. That's what they say. But is it inhabitable without electricity? When you lost a total grid? Yes. The reason it says inhabitable, if you have an on-site power loss, you can plug in a generator, then it's only one deal. Okay? So now, with the total grid loss, that would be a dogfight, and it would be pretty easy to win. Because there would be a lot of people in line to sign up. Okay? All right.